All set. Good evening. I'd like to call the Alton Board of Selectmen meeting February 8th. Excuse me. February 8th, 2021 to order at 6 p.m. Until further notice to keep our members and staff safe and to comply with the RSA 91-A, the state of emergency and governor's orders, restriction on public gatherings, the town of Alton has moved from in-person meetings to remote audio participation meetings. To remotely attend the meetings, audio only, visit our website, www.alton.nh.gov, for telephone access remote access instructions listed underneath news announcements on the home page or the telephone in the selectman's office, 603-875-2113 or 603-875-0229 between 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. for the dial-in code and meeting ID for each selectman's meeting. Will you please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Gentlemen, I need the approval of the agenda. I have one, and I believe Mr. Rochelle has one. Mine would be for old business, discipline, grievance, complaint, and appeal policy. I have mine. I unfortunately misplaced it, so it has my notes in it. I would ask that we postpone for 1 week, if we could.
Table it for the next meeting?
Table it till next week, yes, sir. And Mr. Rochelle?
In new business, I'd like to have the discussion on Bay Hill, possible signage.
I have one, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Under new business, I would like to bring up the issue of the default budget.
That be considered old business, though, where we've already discussed
old, new.
All right, I'd like to put that underneath old business for
Old, sure, fine.
And what was it again, Bob, please?
Default budget.
A motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion that we approve the agenda as amended. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Rochelle to Mr. McDonald to approve the agenda as amended, second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Town offices be closed on Monday, February 15th, 2021, observance of President's Day. Submission of public comment, questions and concerns. Mr. Wright sent in another email with the rest of the paperwork that he did not have access to at the time. If he's not going to go over it, goes over to the same point, what he went over before, about Mr. Howard signing a document. I don't know if you've all had a chance to read it or not, or if you have any comment on it.
I threw it.
My only comment, Mr. Chairman, is these letters are that's a replacement for public input we would have normally. So normally, like if Mr. Wright had come before us, he would have stated his case, and that would have been it, and he would have sat down at the end of it. So I'm a little confused as to why the town administrator thought it was necessary to contact the Attorney General's office. Almost sounds like somebody here is supporting Mr. Wright's claims. I don't think it was necessary.
No, I don't believe anybody here is supporting Mr. Wright's claims. I believe she did it in earnest because he asked. And that's all I would say, to see if something was done illegally. And as far as I know, nothing has been done illegal. And this is not an issue for the Board of Selectmen.
Agreed.
No, it's not.
The state of New Hampshire and the House of Representatives, not us.
I agree.
So why are we getting involved?
We shouldn't be.
We're not.
We're not.
All we said last week, she contacted the office. It was asked of a taxpayer. The same with Mr. Whitman came forward and said, I feel something fraudulent has been done. Would you contact the Attorney General's office? I'd feel that it'd be up to us. We had it all in writing. And there was quite a bit there that was in writing. I believe she did it on that fact, just to see if there was. Nothing was done. It was not our place. And that's what the Attorney General's office, the Secretary of State had said. As to Mr. Howard, we've given him an opportunity for rebuttal, which tonight I feel at that time, Mr. Howard should submit his rebuttal in writing, just as Mr. Wright has, not make an appointment. As we get to that later on down the road. And at that point, dismiss it, because there's several towns involved in this. This is not our jurisdiction.
Right. It's something we can't get involved in.
This is a case for the state of New Hampshire, not for the town of Albany.
Totally agree.
Yes.
But we read his first part 2 weeks ago, came in.
Yeah, and we can hear both sides.
Just
both
sides,
cases,
but it's submitted in writing. I'm not gonna go through all the things that was put in here again. The
No.
action point. It's there for public record. Anybody that would want it, I'm not saying I won't. I won't vote to read it all. It's public knowledge. Anybody can request a copy of this from the selectmen's office. I feel that's what.
Well, that's what I thought, we're just having Ray come put his rebuttal in, that was the end of it.
Yeah.
It's
And have
like
it
it's getting
submitted
dragged
in
on.
writing. Have it-
Submit it in writing.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Does that sound agreeable to everybody?
Yes,
That's agreeable.
yes.
Mr. Holt?
100%.
So anybody that'd like a copy of Mr. Wright's, the follow-up email he submitted to the Board of Selectmen are able to request that through the Selectmen's office. Contact the Administrative Secretary, Mary Jarvis, or Stacy.
Oh,
Moving on to appointments, Brad Jones, High Point Drive acceptance. Do we have Mr. Jones on the phone? Mr. Jones, welcome to our meeting.
Yes, thank you. This is Brad Jones. You want me to get?
As I see before, you submitted all your paperwork. The attorney has signed off that all paperwork is completed. To have the Board of Selectmen, or request the Board of Selectmen hold a public hearing for acceptance of a town road High Point. Is that correct?
That is correct, yep.
Gentlemen, you have in your packet a lot of paperwork. Gone through it all.
Yeah.
I've gone through it. I have a few concerns on it. The way the town of Alton has outlined accepting a road. Number one that I had, if you want me to start, unless one of you guys want to start.
Oh, go ahead.
My concern was on 6.-13 in our pamphlet. Considering whether or not a public need exists, selectmen shall conduct a review based on part upon the following criteria. Will acceptance of the street benefit the community, not just the petitioners? None of the department heads that we have that send in their requests that they had a problem or concern with this showed us where the public need is. E, what impact will the acceptance have on town to perform necessary maintenance, and what is it likely impact on the town budgets? The highway agent signed off on it, had no problems with it. I'm not saying it's just going to require a new truck down the road, but we kind of heard that from everyone except 3 roads. Are there any existing encumbrances which should adversely affect the public interest? The only problem I have is when you have big developments like this, is covenants on properties like this, and I don't feel that the town should have a public road through a property of a development that has covenants on their property, because it limits people what they can do to their property. I, does the street under consideration for acceptance connect with an existing town road or state highway within the town of Alton? Which it does not, it's a dead-end road. Streets which connect to roads in an adjacent town will generally not be considered for acceptance without an intermunicipal agreement covering the snow plowing and emergency services. And last but not least is 6.16. The decision to accept the street shall consist of a motion in which the street is defined as a Class 5 highway. Furthermore, said acceptance shall be conditioned upon the town receiving warranty deed, which we got, and signed release from each mortgage and lien holder. If applicable to a format and containing only such language as may be acceptable to the selectmen, at which point the Board of Selectmen shall vote to accept the deed and have it recorded in the county registry of deeds. And the only question I had on that is the money that was paid on that, that's is what we'll pay to have it recorded in the registry of deeds. Is that correct, Town Administrator?
You know, 2 checks here.
No.
I don't know. I would assume yes, but I'm not 100% sure.
That's correct. 2 separate checks.
You
Yeah.
gentlemen have any concerns or anything in the outline that I've laid out, or you have your own concerns before I go to Mr. Jones?
Jim was all set with the deed, right?
Yes, he finally did.
From what I could see.
Yeah, but it really didn't say that in there. It went back and forth, that deed.
Right, his last letter to us, signed off, everything's all set.
Yes.
I didn't,
Find it for you just a second here.
I saw it.
well, the last email I got from Jim attached is the revised deed to go along with the other files I sent you previously.
Yeah, we have everything we need for a legal review.
And on January 20, 2021, 12:30 PM, reference High Point Drive Road. This is better, okay to proceed.
The reason I'm asking on the deed, because it says in a couple of his emails that I did not see the proposed deed
Right.
to the town.
Yeah,
Is it in a few of them? That's why I'm asking.
Right, and what was the dates on? They were January 14th.
On the checks?
yeah, the 14th.
And
On the 2 checks.
Email I just read you was from January 20th, last email sent in by the town attorney. Am I correct with that,
Yes.
Madam Administrator?
Oh, okay. I missed it up top.
The date starts at the later dates. In the earlier dates, you gotta go read through it backwards.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get it up top there, okay. That answers my question.
I was looking more for lien holders to sign off on the deed, but Mr. Cecil says he has accepted everything and everything is able to proceed.
yeah, because that would have to be him.
Yep.
Jim, if there's a problem in there with liens or anything.
If you don't have any concerns, I've read mine.
I just had a question.
Yes, sir.
Going through all the backup material, this is all gone before the planning board?
Yes.
Yes. Period of time.
Would have signed off on it, yes.
And the planning board I saw has
They
signed
have
off
signed
on
off,
it.
yeah. And when he did it, he had the town engineer and everything up there doing the road and inspections and, yes.
I just wanted to make sure
It's right here.
okay, yeah, I know. but I
We
just-
went through all this on the planning board.
Yeah, this has been an ongoing.
This has been since, a year ago.
Yep, oh, yeah. Been a good year.
And the pond is an as-built, the retention pond,
Retention, yeah, which sometimes can be.
So if you do want to move forward with the acceptance, there has to be.
Yes.
And that would be scheduled.
Nothing but mosquito pits.
You have any questions for Mr. Jones?
I've got one question because it's, would they just read it? On the subject to all matters as set forth on the above referenced plan, showing, said it 20-foot wide.
What number are you on?
I'm on,
What page? So many pages. that you-
Yeah.
I don't know.
There is a lot here to read.
no page number, it just says Schedule B,
Where about are you in the,
about halfway through my packet. I'm on Schedule B. It says Schedule B to continue. It says 20-foot wide, slope grading drainage.
Schedule B.
Does anybody,
Does that mean we've got a 20-foot right of way, or does that mean?
It's on the title insurance company document. Chicago Title Insurance Company.
Yeah,
You want me to chime in on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, so the road actually has a 50-foot right-of-way, and we did put a 20-foot slope grading and utility easement along the side of the road, and that just gives the ability for the underground power and the box and everything, so they're not out in the roadway, so that's what that is, yep.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Rochelle?
I just know that the planning board, and it was approved, but, all the abutters were notified properly. I see all their names and everything. Was there any, public comment from any of the abutters down below you? Were there any public comments or any concerns from any of the
We
residents?
had no abutters at the planning board.
No abutters were at the planning board, so
Complaints?
there's many here, that's why I'm
No
asking.
complaints, no, they didn't send any letters, nothing.
Nobody contacted, nobody called or anything,
During the subdivision, how
Jones?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Whole subdivision? Or
Is that-
anyone, of all the abutters, no one was objected to the road or the project, as far as all the abutters were concerned?
And that question's for me? Yeah, that, we didn't
Yes,
receive any comments at all from the public, no.
Okay, thank you. It's just, we usually, when there's that many abutters, there's usually somebody saying something, that's what I asked. I didn't see anything written, so, thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, all abutters had to sign off, all folks on that road had to sign off for this to become forward anyways. Am I correct for that, Madam?
Well,
Or at least be okay with it.
I was wondering if there was any concerns, even if they signed off, usually there's a comment of either for or against.
yeah, we held a public hearing and stuff,
Hmm?
and we had no complaints, nobody,
So nobody,
And we wouldn't hear if there's any concerns until our public hearing. So I read you my concerns, gentlemen. Do you guys have any rebuttal to my concerns?
no, but I think that, I mean, we've accepted quite a few roads, and it is an asset to the town to give more tax dollars and. I mean,
But help explain to me, and maybe I'll let Mr. Jones explain to me, where is the community need? I haven't accepted the road since I've been back in office, that's been 4 years now. If the road connected to another town road, one way or another, that would say, yes, there's a community need. But if it's a dead-end road, if there's a trail at the end of the road that goes to a mountain for emergency personnel, yeah, there's a community need. But when we accept roads, they only go to dead end.
How does it help?
And I'm not saying anything bad about Mr. Jones's development. I'm saying this would be for anybody, I'd ask this question. Where's the community? The only thing it benefits is the people on that road, so they don't have to hire a private contractor to plow the road anymore. Yes, I know they pay taxes to the town, to the school. We all do. Some that live on private roads still do. But when it's laid out in the town policy, other than the people that abut the road, is there a community need that benefits the community? And I'm just asking for that definition. If the fire chief had said, there's a community need so we can get our folks in there, fight fires, ambulance, whatever, and our guys would be safe going that road because we know it's taken on by the town, it's maintained by the town, it's a safe passable road, that would be one thing. I didn't see that in any of our letters. I didn't see that from the highway
No
agent
comments.
saying that this benefits the community as a whole. Even the town attorney didn't put it in his letter, that it benefits the community as a whole. In the acceptance policy, it says the select board has to decide if it meets a community need. When I don't have any of my department heads telling me there's a community need there, it just throws up a red flag. And that's the only thing. And that's why I read it to you gentlemen tonight, to see if any of you have the same concern. If you don't have the same concern, then we can go ahead and move along and proceed to setting up a hearing to accepting this as a Class 5 road.
Yes, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
No, I have to agree with you.
well, can I ask Mr. question for you?
Well, let Bob go first.
That, you know, I kind of noticed that myself. I'm green at this, but all the department heads didn't even mention how it is going to benefit the town. The public need. What is the public need to accept the road?
Can I ask Mr. Jones?
Started there. Paul, go ahead.
Mr. Jones, can you elaborate on that? If you understand, what is this, what benefits the town by, approving, taking over your road?
There is one big item, kind of something that sets our subdivision apart from others. We have a 20,000 gallon fire cistern. And around the time back in 2007, when we got the subdivision approved, there was a lot of subdivisions that got approved around the same time, and they relaxed the regulation to have the fire cistern. We went ahead and put that in. The town of Alton has used that. I think in Avery Hill, there was a fire. So, I mean, that's a big reason that 20,000 gallons is set up. It's full of water. The fire department has locks and keys to it, and they, you know, they're privy to obviously use that, not just for our subdivision, for, you know, any place in town. Right now, all the residents pick up the mail out on Alton Mountain Road. So there is a safety issue if, you know, that we've got people and vehicles out picking up mail in a, you know, kind of an unsafe spot. So that's, you know, kind of a public issue because they're out on Alton Mountain Road with that. There is also conservation land that surrounds our property, and there is a lot of people would kind of pull in, and there's a trail that goes up. There's an old range road that accesses the town land, so that's another reason that, you know, the public comes in, you know, not often, but sometimes to access that conservation land up on Alton Mountain, the Morse Preserve.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, if, you know, school buses, right now we do not have any school kids on that road, so there's no strain on the school system at this point. A lot of people are kind of retired, or some are retired. But if there ever was a child, I mean, they would want to be able to safely bring a school bus into the road and have it plowed properly by the town, and have it, you know, maintained and with an understanding, you know, that, you know, I mean, we do a good job with that, but I mean, you know, obviously, you know, the town would have better vehicles, that type of thing, to deal with that type of maintenance on the road. And, you know, the taxpayers, they're paying $63,000. There's 9 homes in the subdivision right now, and they pay $63,000 of taxes last year. So that, you know, these homes are all over 1,800 square feet, and you know, they're substantial homes that, you know, paying pretty good tax to the town, and, you know, and that is a benefit supposedly with the taxes, to, you know, to have a town as a road that's maintained. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
We're gonna force these people to build to town specs and build these roads to what we want for 20-year or 30-year roads. It's gonna be kind of hard if you say, no, we're not accepting that road, but you're gonna build it to our specs. I mean, that is the idea of putting those specs out there, so the town can accept that road. And that's why we force the engineering on them and everything else, and it's expensive.
Of course it is.
And we tell them that you've got to pay engineering, you're gonna pay this, you're gonna pay that, you're gonna build it to these specs.
I'm well aware.
And it's
Yeah.
not good policy to say, well, you're gonna build to these specs, but we're not gonna accept that road.
Well, nobody said we weren't gonna accept the road.
No, I'm just saying that
One is,
this,
I brought up a question.
It's a good question.
In the reg, it says, show a community need. Mr. Roberts responded to the list. Department heads would never ask that question. Is there a public need?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You just quoted, department heads would never ask that question, so that's one question that probably should be asked of the department heads when they're submitting this.
Yes.
From safety, emergency, and highway standpoint.
Along with a copy of the regs,
Yeah.
that 6.13.
Some of the exploration that he made actually using the retention.
well, seldom does any of these departments use the regs.
Well, I'm hoping they're using the regs.
Very seldom.
Well, that's an open statement. All I did, I brought up the question going forward. I understand they're taxpayers. Mr. Jones admitted this conservation property all around there. Looking at this, is there an easement through there which people could cross that property at the end of the subdivision and go into the conservation area,
There's not an easement, but there's direct, the edge of the right of way actually touches the conservation land, so it directly abuts that property. But there's been nothing set up, there's no parking lot or anything like that. There are several residents around that kind of cut through the subdivision. If you go up there today, you'll see tracks going up to the blueberry field, and so they, they're using it, and we don't ban anybody from using that. Is once again, we don't have trail signs and that thing, but yes, it is being used. Yep.
So there is a need for community recreation.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, gentlemen, anything else for Mr. Jones? Administrator, anything for Mr. Jones?
No, sir.
Okay. So gentlemen, I need a motion to read the fact that to set up a public hearing to accept High Point Road as a Class 5 road underneath the regulations of the town of, highway regulations in the town of Alton.
So moved.
Mr. Rochelle has made a motion
Second it.
to approve, to set up a public hearing for the acceptance of High Point Road to become a Class 5 road in the town of Alton underneath the Alton highway policies. Second by Mr. Holt. Discussion. Being none. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. All right, gentlemen, we need a date for a public hearing.
We can, I can have Mary work on that, and it would have to be, at least a couple weeks out, because you have to get it into the newspaper and.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
So at next week's meeting, you'll have a date for us?
Yeah,
All right.
we can work on that.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Well, at our next week's, at our next week's meeting, we will have a date for you of the public hearing, which you'll be notified along with the folks on the road. Notified, we have to come up with a date, and then we have to put it out for notification to the town that we're gonna be holding a public hearing. So next Monday, you should be getting a call from Mary Jarvis and Town Hall Selectman Secretary to let you know the date of the public hearing.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay? Anything else we can do for you tonight?
No, I think that's great. I appreciate your time, and looking forward to speaking at the next public meeting. Yep.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank
Enjoy
you.
your evening.
Yep, you too.
Have a good evening.
Yep, bye now.
Okay. Next appointment would be with Jane Davis, continuation on merger request. And if you could get Ms. Davis on the phone first, that would be great.
Well, Liz, have we looked into the town merged these lots or did they?
Tom merged the lots.
We're sure of that.
Yeah, there was a lot of research
Mhm.
done on that, and, in the end, it was, whether the lot line could,
Well, that's why I'm asking, because it would be the,
so,
non-conforming lot.
so right, and it isn't. So the official survey came back, and the assessor looked at the entire survey, and he's here, by the way, attending remotely on this, and you have his memo.
Yeah.
Ms. Davis with us? Good evening, Ms. Davis.
Hi, how are you?
We're wonderful. How are you?
How about if I answer that question after we have our No, I'm really fine. Thank you for asking.
I guess that was the right response. That's what I would have said too. Gentlemen, in your packet to the Board of Selectmen from Rob Jutton, Assessor. Reference map 40, lot 44, request to restore involuntary merger lots. You need me to read this, or have you gentlemen read this whole letter?
Read it.
I've read it. Mr. McDonald?
We've gone over
I
this.
read it.
Oh,
No, we've gone over this before.
okay. Mr. Jutton, if I read this right, He is recommending that we take this out of one lot and put it back into two lots. Believes it was involuntary merge, it meets the criteria, meets the density that we required.
Yes.
To show the lot line, where it was in the, through the survey, which Ms. Davis has presented to us.
Mhm.
I have to concur with with the town assessor, Rob Jutton. Do you have any questions, Mr. Jutton, that you want to ask?
No.
No, I think it's,
When they went in for permits, they were putting it out as one lot.
when they did go for permits, yes.
Yeah,
But
one
that was
time.
back in, 1982.
That's when it was all merged into one lot by the town. Why the town, you know, and I have to say, why the town thought they had the authority to merge lots? Back then,
Many towns.
many towns did it.
I don't know why.
My parents,
What was the reason?
after the town granted them a subdivision 2 years before that.
It saved on tax bills and stuff that they, if you owned it and you owned 3 lots in, over there, they just
The cost of paper.
saved
Yeah.
money.
We don't worry about that
It turned into a
anymore.
nightmare.
No.
With, Keller.
Well, it made it simpler too.
You gentlemen have any questions for Mr. Jutton or Ms. Davis?
Both properties have adequate,
They won't.
frontage. They have adequate frontage. They have their separate septic systems. They share a well, but that's not uncommon. Lots of properties share wells, so that's not uncommon.
They have the square footage for the lots.
For the lots, the property, one of the properties is close to the line, but it's 12'2". Boundary properties have to be, no closer than 10 feet, so that's fine with 12'2".
Yeah, everything's okay.
So,
To me, as long as they got the square footage, the minimum square footage for the lot, and they've got frontage, then they should be able to do that.
should be able to, but the other thing with where the lot line is, it would be, they would have to go before the zoning if it was too close to the property line, but it's being 12'2", they're not in violation, so I don't see anything else that's a concern.
And this is the good thing about having this certified survey done for you.
Right.
So gentlemen, how say you? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to allow Davis's to unmerge, let me
Can I stop you there? It's not the Davises I'm merging. The recommendation to unmerge, my recommendation is you make a request, that you make a motion to unmerge map 40, lot 44, request to restore the lots.
second.
Motion's made.
That was sneaky.
Restore map 40, lot 44, request to restore the involuntary merged lots. Right, and second by Mr. McDonald. Any further discussion? Does Rob have any discussion on, input on that motion?
Nope, this is about as, prime a candidate for restoration of involuntarily merged properties as I've ever seen. That's entirely appropriate.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
I'll poll the board if there's no other discussion. Then. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Yes,
With yes. Ms. Davis, you have your wish that you asked for. You provided the selectmen with everything they've asked for and the assessor. So you have been granted your request.
Thank you very much. You have made my evening. Thank you.
Take care and have a great evening.
Yes, and I appreciate all the work you do for the town, even though I got emotional. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Right.
Okay, that is the end of appointments. We move on to new business. Highway Department, 2000 Mack truck auction request. Mr. Roberts, are you on the phone with us, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, welcome to our meeting tonight, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to turn the floor over to you, sir.
Okay, well, we've got the 10-wheeler in. We're putting the last putting the sander that we kept in it now, and we should have it all done by Friday, we're hoping, keeping our fingers crossed, and that will go online. So as soon as that goes online, we want to pull the Mack truck and put it out to the municipal auction site. So I think we can get a little bit more money at the municipal auction site than we could for a trade-in, as we did before.
You're getting rid of the plow, sander, and wing with it? We're not gonna use those for anything?
No, if you saw the condition, you'd know why they were going out the door.
Okay, all right. Now, Kenny, with getting all the wheelers, are we gonna have a problem on some of our roads?
No.
Where the, six-wheeler is a little bit smaller?
No, we have the 3 6-wheelers, now we got 3 10-wheelers.
Okay,
The only thing that does in the wintertime, it actually reduces time on the road
Right.
because of the sanding ability. And then during the summer, it also backs up the excavator and any other earth-moving stuff that we do, because you can move stuff a lot faster. So,
Right.
money-wise, it's a good investment, and we keep them all on the big routes. So the wheelers stay on pretty much the real big routes, and the smaller trucks take care of the smaller stuff.
okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions of Mr. Roberts? All right, gentlemen, I need a motion to approve what Mr. Roberts is requesting, and also just to remind you, he will be bringing it back with the sell price to you. Approval.
Make a motion that we allow Kenny to, Mr. Roberts, to put the 2,000 Mack on the
Municipal bid.
bid site,
Minimum bid.
with a minimum bid of $6,000.
I'll second that.
Joel, second.
That motion, it should also, that it will include the head plow, sander, and wing, because right now your motion only says the truck.
We
Like
can
to add that to your motion?
Yes, I'll add that, the head plow, sander, and wing. Second.
Second.
By Mr. McDonald to allow the highway agent to place the 2000 Mack model, hashtag RD690P, to the municipal bid site with a minimum bid of $6,000 to include the head plow, sander, and wings. Second by Mr. Rochelle, was it?
Yes.
Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just to add one more thing. Virgil, this is actually replacing Unit 3, the one that spun the bearing, the other 10-wheeler that we lost.
Yeah.
That's what this one's replacing. It's not replacing, instead of a 6-wheeler, it's replacing a 10-wheeler. Just so you have that clarified.
So it wasn't they're adding a new 10-wheeler, they already had it. So. Any other discussion? If not, I'll poll the board. The whole.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Mr. Whitman.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth. Yes, vote to the affirmative.
Thank you very much. Have a great
Thank
evening.
you, sir. You too. Next one is water bandstand usage, August 7th, 2021, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
How do we rent this at all and put the money into like the committee?
It's a suggestion, donation to the escrow account is what it would be. And I think we had, as a board, agreed to like $50, $50 to $100, something
Yeah,
like
everything
that,
helps.
to the escrow account.
What's that?
Requiring people to make a donation.
Yeah.
The request has come from the committee of a donation, but not
Was there
from the board of selectmen, I don't.
It's on the minutes for and I thought it was brought to the board. I could be mistaken on that, but it was on the minutes of the time that we're on, the committee meetings to discuss, monies being donated to the escrow account for the usage of.
I don't believe it's ever came before the board.
Okay.
I think the last few times they've come to your committee, asked for permission, then they've come to the board because we are the only.
That's correct.
ones to give it. But no mention of ever a donation to you.
Hmm.
Usually there's a fee for renting town property, which goes into the general fund. But I have no problem with a donation to the escrow account.
Right. Now, have we got
As
the,
long as when they make their donation, it specifically says in their letter that this is a donation to the
The escrow
water
account.
band.
Water bandstand escrow account is what it should
That
say.
way, then it can legally be put into that account that's held by the treasurer.
have they turned in the contingency plan to EMT?
Not until 30 days ahead of the actual date, because the CDC guidelines will probably be different at that time than they are right now.
And that's why there's two different dates. That's why they're not using it twice. They got two separate dates in case something happens.
They did in their original request, but in this final email dated January 31st, it's just August 7th that they're looking at.
Right, and I know that doesn't conflict with anything. I know in Kelly's report, she didn't know of any concerts, but there are. And I think Nancy said to me today that she would be getting a hold of the Parks and Rec Department of the dates, July 9th and August 20th, dates of bands, which don't conflict with this.
My birthday.
Gentlemen, how say you?
I don't have a problem with it.
I'd like
The
to
only
see
thing, when
them.
you make the motion to approve it, the only thing you have to make a motion to approve it is that they have to get in contact with the EMT, Emergency Management Team, prior to 2 weeks prior,
2 weeks,
30 days.
With a plan.
30 days.
To abide by the current guidelines in place at that time.
Make a motion that we allow them to use the band the 7th, 2021, for the wedding, following all guidelines and sending all the proper paperwork to EMT and insurance writers to the town.
30 days though, prior
But
to.
30 days prior to at least 30 days prior to the event,
From 5 to 7.
from 5 to 7.
I'll second
It's
that.
on there.
And now,
Motion made by Virgin McDonald, on the use of the
if it wants to add more.
bandstand to be used for a wedding, August 7th, 2021, from 5 to 7 p.m., following the guidelines of the emergency management team, at least no later than 30 days prior to the event, with all the insurance documents that are required. Sound adequate,
Yes.
Administrator?
Yes.
Seconded by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Ms. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is in affirmative. Number 3, Bay Hill Road, brought by Mr. Rochelle. Mr. Rochelle?
We've discussed this briefly in the past, about signage on Bay Hill Road. As of not this past snowstorm, but last Friday's snowstorm, once again, we had a serious accident coming down Bay Hill. Van flipped over in the same location that almost every accident happens. 2/3 of the way down the hill, they don't make it around the corner. Once you're committed to that, coming down that hill, when there's snow on it, there's no turning back, you go down. And if you can't make that corner, you end up in a pile of rocks right in one of the properties, right in their front lawn. This particular time, they flipped over and down onto the road.
I think too is we gotta take them signs that say 8% slope or whatever it is going down the hill, because you're over the top of that hill. And you're committed once you.
Right.
Before you see them signs of no tractor trailers and
I
stuff,
have a suggestion.
just over the top, so it's gotta be pulled out.
What I'd like to see, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, seasonal signs going up, say, October 30th and come out May 1st. And the sign should actually say, please use alternate route during snowstorms, and say very steep 20% slope, or,
Well, for one, we should close it off the tractor trailers. I mean, to me, that hill is just a little too steep for those.
Well, here's the issue.
well, what it is, I wasn't done. The thing of it is what's happening, and I interviewed these people, and every one of them that comes down that hill, all GPSs. GPS is sending them down this hill. It's not the local people that are making this mistake. It's people that don't know the road. And they're following the GPS, and then the GPS will not take you to the traffic circle. It'll take you down Bay Hill. Yep.
Maybe we should put the road closed from October to April.
Possibly. The
During snow.
highway department is out. There's 2 to 3 pickup trucks that go around plowing certain roads during the storm. Police department is out. I'm recommending that we put signs out at the beginning of each storm. And we have more than enough help to do this. Road closed, local traffic only during a storm. Right at the entrances of both roads.
That would work great.
It's closed. If they go down and have an accident, they should be held responsible for any costs incurred for that accident.
That would do it.
Can we enforce that?
I believe we could if we adopt that policy, but we'd have to ask the police chief. But to me, during the wintertime months, that would be the ideal thing. Local traffic only, local residents only, local traffic only, road closed. The highway agent's out plowing with his pickup truck. They have the forestry old truck they're out plowing with. They have one of the other pickup trucks they're out plowing with. The signs could go in very easily, or they could be set up in one of the cruisers to go out.
There's only one issue with that. There's only one problem with that. They're out plowing, they're doing it. They would, if they're plowing, that's not an issue. The cars are not gonna slide downhill, but it's when the storm stops and it's already an inch, and they're nowhere to be found, and those signs aren't there, that's when it happens. It would have to be done before they plow.
Even at plowing, if the road is packed and they can't get it all down with salt after they plowed it, it's still a condition. If they leave it closed for the whole storm, once the storm starts, like Mr. Roberts had his crew out, I believe, the other night, one night, it was just as it started, they could put it out. Or the police department puts out in their cruisers. They're out patrolling 24 hours a day.
Even the police department don't like going up that road.
The other thing
They don't like going up.
So all I'm saying is, that would be more enforceable at that point, I would feel, but we'd have to hear from the police chief and the highway agent. That would possibly solve this issue.
Maybe, it's gonna be fine unless it's 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning and nobody's been called out to plow yet.
But you have the police department out.
Okay. As long as that, I just thought putting permanent signs for the winter, do not use this road during a snowstorm, would cover that.
But we could try that too. Why don't we get the recommendation from the highway agent and the police chief at our next meeting? So
Okay.
we can do that.
Either way, something's gotta be, some sort of signage needs to go up.
The other thing I'd like to see is us move them slope signs up towards the entrance, because when the tractor trailers start, there are, you see them after you're over that.
Oh, no, I agree with you.
Yep.
You mean down the bottom?
Oh, even the ones up the top, you've gotta go over the
Well,
hump.
once you go over that hump, you're
You
committed.
see them 2 signs that say, for the grade percentage, and they should be at the entrance, so these guys know when they pull in, hey, whoa, because once you get over that hill,
You
you're
can't
committed.
back up.
Right.
And the other thing that can be done by this is the IT department. Contact Google. Maybe they could put something in reference there to disallow that road as a short route. What would you think about that too?
Just allow that.
Say that again?
Well, Google has it on all their maps.
Right.
You can plug it on your car, shortest route.
Yeah.
Not the longest route, the shortest route, the longest, not shortest one.
Sorry.
Well, excuse me.
I didn't cut it off, sorry.
I've done that.
Maps, but anything worth a
What
try.
if we request that we ask Josh to contact Google?
Oh, definitely.
That they take that off of their maps as a route, because.
That would be great. That's what's causing it. We're getting at least 4 a year. At least 4 good accidents per year coming down, and every one of them, it's all GPS related.
No, this last one wasn't.
This last one was.
Well,
This last one was.
that person, or that company traveled that road.
It was the last company.
Well, yeah.
That guy had never used it before.
That company does, but it doesn't mean that driver.
Driver wasn't. He was in our rental house, and he talked to the people there in the police department, and he said right off the bat, it was his GPS. He didn't know the road.
All right, so we'll refer this matter to the town highway agent and the police chief and the fire chief. And also ask Josh if he can contact Google themselves about this road.
Yes.
Agreeable?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Try
Take care of that.
Okay. And
Anything
I'm
else?
sure we'll take care of getting back with the police chief and highway agent and fire chief.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Old business. We've tabled number 1. We'll move over to number 2, default budget, Mr. Holt.
Well, I don't want to take long with this. It's just that I hope we can get some clarification on this between our town administrator and our town attorney. We all heard the complaint by Mr. Carr at the deliberative session, reference contracts. I met with Laura the other day. I called her again today. She was very helpful. She handed me this New Hampshire Municipal Association's Basic Law of Budgeting booklet, which is, it's the 2020 edition. I had the old edition, but this one, very interesting. On page 132, it spells it out about contracts, especially multi-year contracts with increases per year. Basically, what it says is if the contract is in the operating budget, which we have some in the, just for example, in the landfill or our recycling, we have 2, 3, 4 of them, that are multi-years. They were approved by the selectmen in the operating budget. If that's the scenario, you can only budget what the first year expense was on the contract. If it was 100,000, next year it's 110, the year after it's 120, you can only put, you're in the second year, you can only put 100,000 line item on the line item in the default budget. You can still spend the 110, but you have to take it from somewhere else. But if it was a warrant article contract, 3-year, 100, 110, 120, you can put each year in the default budget. If it was a separate warrant article. I believe I'm reading that right. It's right on page 132. But in my discussions with Laura, she brought up the fact, were the selectmen given the right to approve contracts, multi-year contracts, through a warrant article years ago, or before my time anyways. I don't know if any of you know of any of that.
I can't recall it in my years of
But
meetings.
that'd be something we'd probably have to research.
We do waste management contracts that are multi-year.
That's what he's referring to.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring
As soon
to
as
here.
he's done, I'll kind of chime in with him a little bit.
And in this default budget, it was the next year's figure. Like waste transport was, this year's budget was 39,780. In the default budget, it's at 44,265, which is the increase for the
2% increase, yes.
which, according to this, it shouldn't be.
Right. According to what Mr. Carr handed out to us, I will agree with you. But I would suggest that we send it to the town attorney, have him refer back, because it also refers to employee contracts, such as the town administrator's contract.
Yep.
One would be the winter sand and gravel contract. We just awarded a new winter sand and gravel contract for the next 3 years. If we went to default budget, we should go on what last year's contract was. But 2020.
I thought the default budget was you add in your contractuals.
You do.
It depends if you want to have 2 lawyers argue it out. You could probably have 4 lawyers sit here and argue this out.
Yeah.
That's why we should send it up to our
Definitely.
town attorney. We also use
under that
the
assumption.
municipal association at times for legal reference. Again, we have a taxpayer in the community which is concerned the way the selectmen does their business. Also, the individual is also a past selectman, which things were done this way when they were selectmen. I never heard this when they were selectmen. The Board of Selectmen do know what they're doing. It's nice that he brought this to our attention. Again, I will say again, because this isn't the first time. We'll have our town attorney look at it, but this is why they have courts of law. This is to have the judge define the law. This is reading it this way, what he handed to us, makes perfect sense that we should not be allowed to do it, okay, as just a person reading it, but I am not a lawyer. Also, it defines employees' contracts, such as the town administrator.
Yep.
You also have health insurance, which is a contract. Sometimes they've done it for 3 years. You have the winter and sand and travel. There's many contracts the town of Alton has. I can't list them all, but one would be auditors and things like that. We can pay the difference in the contract from year to year. You just have to rob it from other line items to make those payments because we're a bottom line budget on the offering.
I thought even when when Lauren was on the board, I had just come on or something, we sent it in for contractuals, and they said we could add, contractuals get added into default.
The article he's referring to is the 2018 change, according to a court case.
Okay.
Okay? The only thing I will disagree with what he stated at the deliberative session is the selectmen, as long as I've sat here, has not had a 2% COLA. And as a matter of fact, the selectmen this year, with the 2% reduction in the budget, they requested the selectmen get no pay this year. Unfortunately, we didn't catch it in time. We already got the first payment.
But we're gonna take it out of the administrator's account.
So the selectmen are not getting a COLA, have not got a COLA since I was here, Lori. And two is, we're not even taking a pay this year because we took part of that 2% cut in our wages. But we did look at it, at least I read what you handed out. I reviewed it. I recommend we still send it on to town council because we're not lawyers and have them get back to us. The other thing I will agreement to it, in later on down the line, on last page, I believe it was, I'll just read it to you. HB 342 amplifies the notice requirements for the default budget. Adding onto the long-standing requirement, the default budget is disclosed at the first budget hearing, RSA 40:13 XIA. As amended, further explanation, the default budget must be presented for questions and discussions at the hearing. Although many towns and districts already do this, the form used for presenting the default budget must now include the specific item that constitutes a change by account code and the reasons for each change, as well as reductions for eliminated positions and benefits. Towns and districts will be required to make the line item details for these changes available for inspection by the voters. In the operating expenditures, Laura did put there what the changes would be, the 2% COLA and the other items. The only thing that did not show on the one was the reasons listed below. I believe she gave that over to the Department of Revenue. When the Department of Revenue sent it back, it did not have our reasons for it. Okay? The other thing, all default budgets and all budgets are reviewed by the Department of Revenue. In all the years I've sat here, the Department of Revenue has never kicked it back. So they know what the appropriations are and stuff. They never kick back our budgets.
Right.
So as far as I'm concerned, is the RA approves our budget and the default budget as given to them.
As read.
We're within the right standing. Now I'll turn it over to Laura.
So according to the Department of Revenue, they don't care about your reasons. But you can put it on there, but they're not required to make you give that to them. But we give that out at the public hearing in the BMS form with each line documented. So that information was provided, and it was also at deliberative.
At the table. Correct.
But it was at the public hearing, which is what that says. You have to have it at the public hearing and available.
Yes. That's why I got up and got it for them.
So the RA has slapped the Board of Selectmen on hand, different communities, when the warrant articles aren't written right, even after they approve the warrant article, then it gets voted on, then they come back 6 months later, so no, you can't have it now. So I feel as long as we're in compliance and the RA signs off on it, that we have been in compliance. With this that's been submitted to us now, I suggest we send it to the town attorney and let him give us our recommendations. If this is the way it's written, the New Hampshire Municipal Association is allowed to let the towns down, because this could shorten someone's budget quite a bit on the default budget.
Oh, yes.
Okay? It does not give any faith in the Board of Selectmen that are trying to get appropriations for the town to honor their contract as stated. Because the contracts are all open to the public, such as the town administrators, the winter sand, gravel,
Health insurance.
health insurance. It's all open to the public, so anybody had any questions all along can come in here anytime. A lot easier than waiting till the night of the delivery session to bring up the questions. Especially in this town, we've never kept anything from the townspeople. Because I'd be the first one to stand up and holler otherwise.
We've always been pretty transparent.
Yeah, but, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I understand the scenario. It's just that this is 3 years, at least, this has been going on. I just want us to do it and do it right.
Well, and I have no problem with that.
And, okay.
Vice going to town attorney, but the town attorney signed off on this a year ago, I believe. And I'll ask him to resend that one down.
Well, that was basically on the pay raises, which was the COLA. I believe that was the big issue then. And I think we're on good grounds with the COLA, not a merit, which we don't show. But this issue now is on the contracts.
We're gonna send them the paper too, right?
Yes, sir.
With the attorney.
So if we can get
Definitely look at
a clear clarification, I'd appreciate that.
Well, that's all I'm asking for, sir.
That's what I'm asking for tonight.
And I think the New Hampshire Municipal Association has let the selectmen down and not going after the House of Representatives and the Senate to get this changed, because it really ties the hands of boards of selectmen on a default budget. And the New Hampshire Municipal Association is to be there to work on behalf of the
Help us,
community.
that's right.
And as Mr. Lauren Carr will say at that night, the people that voted for SB 2 years ago to put our town in SB 2 did a disinterest to this town. Because the default budget can really tie the hands sometimes.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
By taking that old-fashioned town meeting away from everybody. But the majority of the will of the people wanted it that way, so be it. Anything else on this then, gentlemen? You're all in concurrence to send up the town attorney?
Yes, yes.
Get it straightened out.
I'm not sure if I have that document, there's a lot of documents he's been turning in the last few days, and I'm not sure if I have all of them.
Right here. This is the one he gave us at town meeting. You can have my copy. I sent all that to Mary
okay.
today. I took pictures of it, sent it to her through email.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make.
You have these
back.
from Lori?
Thank you.
Yeah.
See, I.
Yeah, I really have.
Haven't gone over them either.
I scanned it, and
Yeah, I did.
All right, gentlemen, moving on to select.
That's all I've got, though.
Oh, no, we're gonna do that in my,
What's that?
I was thinking the grievance, but
No.
postpone that.
Postpone it for me.
Yeah.
Moving on to selectmen's report. Mr. Holt.
I don't know if any of you got the emails on the milfoil committee. They're entertaining a lot of proposals for new contractor and so forth. Recommendation will be coming down pretty soon, I hope.
That'll be good.
Rochelle,
Not at this time. We meet.
you want to talk about your runway up there?
Wow.
Oh, I could. Thank you for reminding me of that. I been only out there all day. The runway is plowed. It is prepared. It is currently open by day only for the helicopter pad at this time only. And the no planes as of yet until today, which we just got our approval. I called and got an approval this afternoon by the state of New Hampshire. Came out and we checked the length. We made it to 2,600 feet. Requirement was 2,500 feet. So we're 2,600 feet, and so we're good to go. We made it, and we have the ice thickness out there that we need. So now it's just a matter of maintaining with the next 3 storms that are coming to try to get it open.
More than that, they're gonna come back to back, because you ain't had it all winter. Mother Nature's gonna give you your 10 storms.
Yeah, this is true. So
I have nothing.
There you go.
Nothing yet.
I did have something, but Mr. Holt did put it in underneath old business, the fall budget. What I spoke on, I was going to say in my selectmen's report tonight. Okay, but that's glad you took some time. There was another comment at the end of the meeting, the reports, boards, and committees, and along with the fall budget, Mr. Carr put in, plus he submitted it in writing, because we asked him to. The Route 11 parking, no parking signs. I do disagree with him on that. I think it should stay as no parking. The highway at 55 miles an hour, no judge, it'd be hard to even get it down to 40, even at 40 with parking on both sides of that road. It would be very dangerous. We did it out of the safety and concerns of our taxpayers and our visitors, our community. The state even agreed that it should be done. So I feel at this time, it should be left alone and stay that way.
I think that we should stay in touch with the forestry department, because he said they were working on ideas to expand that parking lot. Maybe we should stay in touch with them and see if we can either, whatever, and get it expanded.
Well, the other thing is asking the DOT, they own quite a bit of a right of way through there on both sides. That they maybe do a better drainage system, fill in the gully right there to allow diagonal parking, so if they backed up, they wouldn't have to back into the road, they'd be backing like we do down in the bay.
So backing out can be a problem.
That could be a problem.
But they're not backing into the roadway.
Because you'll have
It's
enough.
like the bay parking lot. When they pull into there and they back out, they're backing out inside the white line.
Inside the white line and then out.
Yeah, because you're angled just enough that you can
Yes.
do that.
Yeah.
There's more than enough room there for them to do it if they brought the drainage up and everything else, made it level.
Did we send them a letter asking them?
We could, but we shouldn't.
Put it on their radar?
We should talk to Mr. Roberts about it and come up with an idea before we send them a letter.
Uh-huh.
And see if it's even possibly done, but I think there's certain areas up there that could be done a little bit further up where it levels off more so and there's more right of way there.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get it on state's radar so they start at least planning on it.
Because that road was meant for a 4-lane highway up through there
Yes.
when it was built back in the late sixties or seventies. So that would be an idea to allow more off-street parking. But the other thing is, how much can Mount Major handle?
How much can it handle? Exactly, I was just gonna say that.
The bigger you make it, the more they're coming,
That's right.
especially now.
It'll expand it even more and we'll have that much more traffic and that's.
Even the other parking lot on Reed Road's full. I mean, they're parking down that road like they do on Jesus Valley.
So that's the end of my report. So I'll move over to the town administrator's report.
Okay, I have several things tonight. The first thing, which is not
You've
on
been
the
good for
list,
so long.
was Phil. I just wanted to make a comment or two about the whole, Mr. Wright and Ray Howard thing and all of that. I'm not taking a side one way or the other on it, and I had forwarded to the selectmen of when I first got this, I immediately contacted our town attorney because I really didn't know, what am I supposed to do with this? And I think you have the email, it's from January 11th, where I told him I didn't even know what to do about this. And should he be sent a discretionary appointment form, it would take weeks. Or is this something that should be addressed sooner or even at all? You've probably seen that email.
Yeah, my only point was, if Mr. Wright, let's say we were having public input and the crowd was here, Mr. Wright would have made his comment. You know, maybe if, Mr. Howard was here, he would have made his comment. That would have been the end of it. We wouldn't be contacting the,
Yeah,
That was my only.
That's
Yeah.
true.
okay.
Just be hearing it and listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the next, thank you. The next item that I wanted to bring up would be the fire truck, you know, how they were gonna drive down Pennsylvania. So
Yes.
bringing this up on the TA report because this was just done and, you know, there's a deadline for the agenda, which is last week, and it's already gone by. So he's attending remotely, to talk to you about it. You have received this memo from him.
That's good news.
Maybe he can explain it to you, answer any questions you may have.
Go ahead and bring them on.
Pretty good.
Chief, are you there?
Mechanic was happy.
Fire truck's here, right?
Yeah.
Hi, Chief.
Hello.
Hi there. We got your letter. We read your letter. I'm happy with it, but in case you want to explain a little more in detail, you can.
I got Pat on the line too, who actually went out with the town mechanic and took a good look at it. Their response, they had called me while they were out there, and their response was very positive. It was pretty much exactly what we expected.
Good.
The truck seemed to be in incredible shape. They put it through some paces out there. They've been putting it through some paces back here too. And we had spoken about $15,000 for equipment upfitting and unforeseen issues. After going through it, that's probably going to be like $8,800, and most of that's going to be radios and lettering. There are a couple things that we would have replaced on the ladder truck in the past years had it been in service. But with it not being in service, there was no point in spending that money. So we're playing a little bit of catch up on that part, but this really does fill the gap. And we're definitely going to be good for the next 5 years, and it could last a little longer. Pat is on if he has anything to add or if you have any questions.
Pat, do you have anything to say?
Nope,
You're in the
I'm
dark.
pretty good. If you guys are all set, I am, the chief summed it up pretty good.
Okay. Looks like we're in a horror movie. You're in the dark there.
So
There you go.
it sounds like the town mechanic was pleased with everything he saw, as well as the two of you. Looked like everything was pretty good.
That was a phone call I had received. The other firefighter that went down is actually a pretty good mechanical person as well. So, probably three of the best looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, we were pleasantly surprised to learn that the main hydraulic pump was replaced, which is a pretty expensive item. All the brakes are brand new all the way around. All the tires were good all the way around. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same story that we had thought ahead of time, and yeah, it should serve us good to fill the gap. It's always, a big question mark, like we said, buying a used truck. And that's kind of why we didn't want to buy one that's a couple years old. So for the money that we paid, I think it'll be a good value. But like the chief said, the 5 years is going to be the target number, because after that, that 25 to 30 year mark is where that other truck really started to cost us a lot of money. So it'll be important to stick with the plan for sure.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Well, good job in picking out the truck. It sounds like it's in good shape.
And it also sounds like the company that had it beforehand was pretty sad to see it go. They really do a good job taking care of their equipment.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support on this.
Welcome. Okay, Madam Administrator.
Okay, the next thing has to do with next week. Monday is a holiday, we're closed. Did you want to skip that week? Do you want to reschedule for that week? This room is available on Wednesday and Thursday night if you want to have your meeting on either of those nights.
Can't come in Monday afternoon?
Do we have much pending, Mr. Chairman?
Well, the only thing we have pending is the grievance policy, and then Mr. Jones, we told him we'd let him know next week about the public hearing. We don't have to meet to let him know the date of the public hearing. The town administrator has to let us know when the date they chose for the public hearing and let Mr. Jones know.
Yeah, because they'll have to send Mr. Jones a letter, and then they gotta notify the abutters, right?
To notify all their abutters, yes. We have to advertise it also, correct, Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Madam Administrator?
Yep.
So it's up to you, gentlemen. Do you want to skip a week?
Are you in favor of it?
Sure, we'll be
I
back,
can't see why not.
Back in June?
back in June. July,
What would be the next date then?
following Monday, right?
Following Monday, yeah.
Be the 22nd?
22nd, yes.
That's the next regular
So the
meeting.
next regular selectmen's meeting then would be the February 22nd. Agreeable?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. The next issue I wanted to bring to your attention is the emails that you've been receiving that I've been having the ladies forward to you on the coalition communities, the education tax, the state portion of the education tax. So there are some proposed changes down in Concord in the legislature about this, and that will, from what I'm gathering and from what I'm hearing, increase every municipality's state tax portion significantly.
Now, is that, 'cause I know the state part of the taxes go back to the school part of it.
So there's the latest proposal, there's a proposal in the state legislature to, there's a different formula to come up with the amount for each town that each town has to raise.
Oh, because they couldn't get donut towns passed?
So, and you have it in everything that I've been sending to you.
Mhm.
And Portsmouth is the leader of the coalition communities to represent the donor towns, which we are a donor town. And it's gotten to a point where they want to hire a lobbyist, and they're trying to get as many towns as possible to join to share in the cost of hiring a lobbyist, which you've probably read in the email.
Worth it, though.
I think it may be. I asked today, you know, how much is this going to be? They don't know. They won't know until, you know, everyone has been contacted and gotten back to them saying, yes, we're, you know, we want to be part of this and everything. But I can tell you that the initial appearance, I guess you could say, of our state education tax rate is going to increase between $500,000 up to $1 million per year.
Is this worth putting an ad in the paper, asking people to call and write down exactly what it is, and ask people to call the reps and everything else?
So that is what they are recommending that every municipality do. Contact your state reps, all of your state.
But not just municipalities, it should be the townspeople, the voters, everybody, to let them know, hey, we're not happy.
So there's a hearing next week. It's actually House Bill 504-FN-L. It's relative to the state education property tax and the low and moderate income homeowners property tax relief program. So the whole thing, the whole proposal, if I'm understanding it correct, has changed so that all the money will go into an account at the DRA, which a few years back, I remember the DRA said, we don't want anything to do with this because they tried it a few years back. And then the DRA would decide based on income, which towns would be a donor and how much, the percentage and everything. So it's pretty detailed.
Yeah, we went through it about 20 years ago.
It's been going on for years. But then today and last week, there were several emails that were forwarded to you with attachments on there. So I'm bringing this to you to see if you still want to be part of this donor town group.
I think too is we should put that meeting times and stuff and put it in the paper and advertise it and tell people what this is about so people start going to Concord on it. Because you'll be surprised how many people around here will end up in Concord at that meeting. You know, I mean, there's quite a few in town that are, and I think people should know about it, that, hey, this is what's gonna happen.
Have you seen any proposed legislation?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it was sent out in the email. Yep.
Emails.
It was just sent out
I
today.
only briefly looked at it, but I'm gonna look at it a little bit.
Well, I can't believe where the Republicans control the House and Senate now that they would even
Consider it.
well, they have to consider if they have enough support from the Democratic side, but it should be able to be voted down very hands over.
I would agree with that.
One, it's very unfair just because they
yeah.
consider us a property-rich community because of the lakefront property. Alton still has been very conservative over the years on their education. Because really, if we were not, I mean, you take somebody like Claremont, which they consider a recipient town.
Yeah.
They have industrial parks. They have their shopping plazas and everything else now. They have a large school system. But yet, they offer more
What they can afford.
than what we offer.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But yet, we're expected to help pay for
Pay more.
what they want to offer more to their students. You take Laconia. Laconia is a recipient town, even though they have lakefront, they have industrial parks, they have shopping plazas. That's why when everyone says Alton needs to build and build and have industrial parks and shopping centers, I say no, because that doesn't bring in your taxes.
Doesn't bring anything.
Doesn't do anything.
Lake Winnipesaukee is the only thing that has kept this community alive and well. That's what's kept Wakefield alive and well, is all their lakes up there. Other towns have some lakes, but not as much as we do, whatever. But I don't believe it's a very fair process when we have what we have. Anybody can live wherever they want in this state. They can pick up their bags, move at any time. There's nothing holding anybody there. There's nothing holding back individuals that want to do better for themselves either. But yet the state, for some reason, on certain things, when they've changed this whole state tax on education, really started hitting the communities hard. Alton just has been very conservative over the years. We needed something for our high school students, as such as a VOTEC school. We entered into an agreement with Kingswood. State doesn't give us any extra money for that.
Nope.
So I feel we should still fight this. I don't know why we're having to fight it for at least the next 2 years, seeing we have a Republican-controlled House, because they can't believe the Republicans are going along with this. So I have no problem helping to hire a lobbyist. I don't always like a lobbyist. I think they're a detriment to the community at times and to individuals, because they only represent big business. Well, that's why I look at lobbyists.
Well, that's why I say if we advertise this and let the people go down, taxpayers go down, if people know about it, they're gonna go.
And I agree with you
Well,
on
I
this.
know a certain amount, yes.
I don't know if they're gonna go, because they're limited to where they can go right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All they're accepting is handwritten documentation.
Yep, and, through the computer, the telephone, you can register, but it's a pretty difficult thing to do for a person like me.
Everything like they're,
Let me ask you this, would it be worth starting a petition and get people to sign it as they come in downstairs and then send it down to them? Showing that, hey, this is the voters of this community, we don't want this, and put it around all the communities.
I don't know how much of an effect that would have, quite frankly. I like it, I don't know. I don't know.
we could put
It's
one
a-
out there, wouldn't hurt.
It's a bigger, it's
Try.
bigger than just Alton.
How much money would
I
you
know.
have? How much money?
Everybody starts it, at least maybe they'll get the notion down there that we don't want it.
You go and hire a lobbyist to become part of the coalition, hire lobbyists, what are they looking for an amount of money? Have
I
they
don't
said?
know. I asked, and they sent out an RFP, which
Yeah.
you received in your
received,
email, and a list of those that responded. They're mostly law firms, not all of them. So I don't know how much it's gonna be, how much it's going to cost. Portsmouth is hoping that, I had a call from Waterville Valley today about this, who is working with Portsmouth to notify different towns. They're hoping that they can get as many donor towns as possible to participate, which would lower the cost for each.
Well, we kind of need figures on what the lobbyists would call, but I tend to agree with the chairman. I don't think the current legislature, is going to pull off something like this. I really don't think so.
It's the Ways and Means Committee
Yeah.
that's
That's proposing it.
Yeah.
It still have to go before the House and the Senate.
Ways and means is still in study.
And also signed by the governor,
Yeah.
correct?
We haven't got any input on this from our state reps, have we?
Haven't asked.
I haven't heard of PEEP.
I'm going to talk to all
Can we
three.
ask them?
Yes.
Can we ask them and
Yeah.
see where they stand on it?
I can reach out to all three. I encourage you all to as well, but I can certainly reach out to all three and ask them to help
Definitely.
with this.
Well, that.
See what they've got to say.
Tell us where they stand on it,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Can you ask Waterville or Portsmouth an estimation of cost, because we didn't put a whole lot in our legal
I know.
fund this year, okay?
I will.
If you want to get to the public, Virgil, which I think is kind of important, if we reach out to our state reps and possibly get something in writing from them, and possibly to publish, people don't know what's going on.
No, they don't.
No.
They don't.
Well, it's too late.
The other thing is, even if we had to pay for an ad in the Baysider or the Daily Sun, we'd have to pay for a story to be printed there, because the Daily Sun nor does the Baysider do any stories on Alton unless it's the AVA. Okay? They really,
They really.
the Baysider really does not do anything, really, for
Not much.
municipalities anyhow on the government side,
Not much.
not for the last year, which is too bad.
Unfortunate.
Because all the reporter have to do is pick up the phone and talk to Liz,
That's
or
Fighting it.
myself, or any one of you guys. And they have not done it. The same with the Daily Sun. They have not really done a whole lot on Alton anymore. It's mostly Laconia and Guilford.
I think you lose those
Liz
reporters.
could also, I know that, the planning department, and some of the departments are also putting it on social media. That's a big way as well.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before, get it on social media, discuss it, show it, and say that we're reaching out to the three, state representatives,
That's not a bad idea,
and do that on social media and get that out there as well.
That's not bad.
Like a
Sometimes that goes faster than the newspaper.
Yeah.
Something on our website, too.
Yeah, and I was saying, yeah, exactly, the
Bill,
website.
and they want us to be a donor town again.
Well, there's
So-
one thing about it, if you're worried about default budgets before you increase that state tax by $1 million, you will have more default budgets.
Oh, yes.
Oh, definitely.
We have no control over the state tax, because I sat here the first year they implemented it, and the state of New Hampshire threatened to arrest the Board of Selectmen for not sending in the money. That's how far our government went down the line. And we sat here, I didn't care if I was arrested, if they were gonna arrest me for that, for not sending a tax dollar into them for taxation really with no representation, because we didn't. Because our community is involved up of some of those recipient towns, Barnstead, Gilmanton. Okay? So, and I was willing to do it, but the rest of the board wasn't, so.
So is everyone okay if I work on some sort of a press release with attachments maybe? Or do you want me to wait on that and then contact the state reps first and get a ballpark from Portsmouth or Waterville?
I'd like to
Or
see
everything.
some sort of estimate, what it's gonna cost, how it's gonna be prorated over the towns, and get a hold of our state reps, and also get ready for a press release.
I'd like to see something go on our website, town website.
Yeah, we put press releases on there too. All right, thank you. And then the last item I have has to do with trees in the Mary Meeting River. Apparently there are 8 trees in the river. At least I haven't heard of anybody removing them.
But
They did all fall from town property. And I think I forwarded you a couple weeks ago the response from Cindy Belsius from Stony Ridge Environmental about the DES, you know. I also called DES.
I think I saw it.
I called DES and I spoke to a woman and who answered my question, but then transferred me to the person who actually covers this area. In the meantime, unbeknownst to me, the highway manager contacted Stony Ridge and I contacted Stony Ridge. And anyways, long story short is you may go into the water to remove the tree, but you cannot use any equipment. You can't put equipment in there. You can't disturb the banking. You have to be very careful how you do it. You can do that without a permit. If you're going to do anything more than that, you're going to need a permit from DES.
But
So my question to you is I had a question from the highway manager. Does this mean that the highway department is now going to be kind of the ones to remove trees out of the river where they've never done that sort of thing
Only if
before?
they're from the town property and they interfere with navigation of paddling or fishing on the river, I would say.
yeah, that's
But
right.
only for town property, not for personal property.
Because when you
But like
rehab
she
rivers,
said, she's like 8 trees on town
but
property.
when we rehab rivers and stuff, and I think you gotta check to see, because if they're not in the navigation, sometimes they're good, because when you rehab a river, you're adding knockdown trees and stuff.
Exactly, exactly.
For the fish and for the turtles and stuff. So I think we gotta be careful and, you know, even have conservation or something maybe go down, because Russ is really good at it, Russ Wilder. And have them look, because if they're not in navigation, maybe they're good for the.
A lot of the brooks and streams.
Rehab that river for spawning.
Exactly. A lot of the brooks and streams, they've been doing that for habitat purposes.
We do that,
Making
yeah.
it more natural.
When to rebuild it, you knock them down so the trout have somewhere to go down and lay eggs and.
As long as it's not crossing the whole.
The only problem with that was some of those trees that came down by the beavers.
Oh,
So if you leave some of those trees in there, they just find out that you place the dam up, you're gonna have a dam. Then you're gonna have a time getting rid of that dam. But I would say if Mr. Roberts is on the phone, we bring him in, discuss it.
If they're by the beavers, they'll have a hell of a time.
It usually is.
He's still sitting there listening to us.
Okay.
I know he is. If he's not in his office, he's somewhere else listening to us.
I like the idea of Russ Wilder, though, or someone from.
Russ is really good at,
Somebody from conservation, definitely.
well,
It's just that-
Hi, Ken, are you there?
Russ is who we go to on conservation.
You hopped off early, okay.
I mean, I can check with him too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know
gentlemen,
how they would
it's
do
your
it.
pleasure get a hold of Conservation Commission, Russ
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts, see if we can get these trees out of there. Because some of them that I did see interfere with the navigation. Some is on our ball field, some is by the railroad abutment.
You may not have to remove all of them.
One's a little further down, it goes 3/4 way across the river. So, I suggest leave it up to Mr. Roberts and Russ Waldo to see which trees need to be removed.
Yeah, 'cause sometimes it helps with the spawning and everything else, so.
But the only thing is, anything like that, the only reason I say highway department, they have the equipment. I realize they can't go in the water, but they could reach out over the water as long as they don't disturb the water with a piece of.
As long as you
You
don't.
can't disturb the banking either, or anything that would,
Better the better.
you know, make it crumble.
Put the equipment in the water either.
Yeah, but they can get up close.
They can reach out.
Reach
They
out.
can definitely reach out.
Reach out with a
chain
rope or something like that.
That boom.
Well, the thing of it is, I mean, if you've got big enough equipment with, as long as they have, come-alongs and winches, a lot of that stuff can be wrapped and pulled out of the water and pulled up on shore.
And they may have to wait until warmer weather. too,
And warmer weather,
maybe.
yes. I wouldn't expect them to do it now.
Yeah.
Usually you get it up next to shore and then you pick it up over the.
Yeah, exactly. You just pull it up, winch it over and then pick it up.
You don't wanna be dragging it up the embankment.
No, but you
Right,
can bring it up to the edge.
Yeah.
And then you pick it up.
You're not supposed to disturb bottom or bank it.
Up out of the water of the machine.
Oh, Kenny knows how to do it.
If it's got a thumb on it, you can pick it up.
I say go down and take the one dog.
Mr. Roberts, are you there with us?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I don't know if you heard our conversation or not, but the board's recommending, along with the town administrator, possibly Russ Waldo get in contact with you to see if any of those trees should be left there for habitat for the fish or anything. Also, the selectmen did say we'd only be responsible for town, trees that are in the town property. That's it, nothing else, no person.
Yes, sir.
When you're in there
Yep,
deep in
we've already figured out how to do it. We're actually gonna close down Letter S Road and utilize the excavator and a pulley system off the excavator to reach over the water to be able to pull the trees up out of the water and then bring them to the shoreline.
Perfect.
And, okay, then town administrator, along with your help, check with Russ Wilder. But you're gonna wait till warmer
Yes.
weather, am I correct on that, though?
Or we get a good break in the weather where it's not gonna be too bad, we can yank them out now.
Okay,
But we'll have to wait and see what happens in the next few weeks.
all right. Ms. McDonald is the one that recommended we go through the conservation department, Ms. Russ Wilder, in case the trout need to lay their eggs.
Yep, Russ has been great to work with.
salmon would be there.
All right, sir. I appreciate you coming back on. I know it's your evening off, but thanks for listening in.
That's my birthday with you.
There you go. Happy birthday.
See how lucky you are?
Thank you. Yes.
Just think, another year, you won't have to worry about it. Or
Agreed.
3 months, or 2 months. Thank you, sir. Enjoy your evening.
You all have a great night. Be good, be safe.
Thanks, Ken.
All right, ma'am.
Have a good night.
What else do you have?
Nothing?
Okay, gentlemen, we're gonna move on then to approval of minutes, January 2021, regular minutes.
Move to accept the minutes of January 20th.
I'll second that.
Motion been made by Mr. Whitman to approve the minutes of January 2021, regular minutes. Second by Mr. Holt. Any discussion? Pull the board. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman? Yes. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote the affirmative. January 25th, 2021, regular meeting.
Make a motion, we approve the January 25th minutes.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. McDonald to approve the January 25th, 2021 regular minutes, second by Mr. Rochelle. Any discussion? Not, I'll pull the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman? Yes. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. January 25th, 2021, non-public session.
That's it.
Motion to either divulge or keep them non-divulge, correct, Madam Administrator?
Right.
And I would recommend, number 2,
I would recommend that all 3 remain as is, which is not divulged. But I think down the road a little bit, number 1 could be released. Number 3, not yet.
number 2.
Number 2.
No.
Well, the abatements have been, number one,
But that hasn't been closed yet. That docket number has not been closed
oh, it has
yet.
not been closed yet?
Right.
Okay, so we can't divulge it until the docket number is closed.
Right, until the case is
All right,
closed,
well, that
yeah.
gives me a little bit better.
That'll be coming up.
Yeah. Number two, I mean, that's really up to you if you want to or not. It could be.
Still has to do with personnel, it should not.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not to divulge all three.
And number three,
That has to stay where it is.
right, I don't think that should be released.
Gentlemen, I make a, motion to approve the non-public session minutes of January 25th, 2021, non-public, not to divulge.
Second?
Motion made by Reuben Wentworth to approve the January 25th, 2021, non-public minutes and to leave not divulging. Second by Mr. Rochelle. Any discussion? Being none, Mr. Holt.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Mr. Whitman.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
No.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is 4-1. All right, next item on the agenda, gentlemen, is the consent agenda as submitted to you in your handouts tonight.
I have a question on this, but it's personnel. Do we wait to go into non-pub?
You're talking about item number 2?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that would be discussed in non-public. Yep.
Can we hold off on voting on that until add a non-pub?
We could on the whole thing, or you could just approve the consent agenda number 1 from the assessing department, approve as submitted, and, hold off on number 2 till after non-public.
Right, I make a motion, we approve number 1 for the tax abatements and hold off on number 2 till after non-pub.
Well, you can't just say tax abatement, because a lot of them are credits and certifications.
All right, for the
Two credits.
Just what I would do is make a motion to approve the assessing department recommendation on the consent agenda, February 8th, 2021, as submitted.
second.
Motion made by Reuben Wentworth to approve the assessing and consent agenda number 1, assessing department as submitted, February 8th, 2021, second by Mr. McDonald. Discussion. Being on Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Whitman.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Mr. Holt.
Yes.
Both the affirmative. Number 2 will be taken up after non-public session on the consent agenda. Discretionary action on request for appointments, no discussion, majority vote required to allow, not to allow appointment. Justin Cooper, request to unmerge Avery Hill Road, map 10, lot 6. Packet.
I did a recommendation on this of 10 minutes. If you approve it to go forward for an appointment, for a scheduled appointment.
Would you like a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Excuse me?
Would you like a motion?
Yes, sir.
I move we approve Justin Cooper's request to unmerge Avery Hill Road appointment. And no more than 10 minutes.
Second?
This is not to unmerge them, this is just for the appointment.
Just the appointment.
Appointment, yeah.
He's going to request, and then we have to set out.
10 minutes.
With his request. Motion made by Mr. Holt to approve the request of Justin Cooper to allow an appointment for 10 minutes. Second, who did the second? Second by Paul Rochelle. Discussion. Nine, none, I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Next one is Raymond Howard Jr. rebuttal regarding state government. As I said earlier, when we talked about this with Mr. Wright, Mr. Wright submitted his by submission. I'm requesting that Mr. Howard does the same thing, put his rebuttal in writing. That could be read into the record, as we did the first part of Mr. Wright. Like I said, I do not believe this is a town issue. We did allow Mr. Howard the courtesy of submitting a written rebuttal. Are you in agreement with that, gentlemen?
Yes.
As long as he's notified that the board does, doesn't want to get involved in this issue at all.
Well, the consensus of the board, we don't want to get involved, but he has the right to put a written rebuttal in. Is that
Right.
correct?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Right. If you would like.
If he wants to, yes.
All right, so I need a motion to that effect to deny the appointment, that the request can come by a written rebuttal.
Gonna add this guy's rebuttal and Raymond Howard's rebuttal in the minutes to be filed.
So it will be part of the record, which will be on file. Is that correct, Madam Administrator?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's on file, but when you go into the minutes, that part ain't gonna be there.
Well, it would be attached.
You wanted it, we can
Well,
attach
that's what I
it to the
mean,
minutes.
attach, so it's filed with.
Yes. Yes, we can attach it to the minutes if that's what the board wants. All right, do I have a motion to deny Mr. Howard's request for a 5-minute appointment? Yeah, we're not gonna meet with him.
Not gonna meet with, it's gotta be written.
Okay, yeah.
We're requesting a written rebuttal, as Mr. Wright did, because we did not allow Mr. Wright the chance to speak on his mail that he sent to us.
Yep.
We did not allow.
I understand.
So that should be part of the motion then,
Yes.
that Mr. Howard submit his.
A written rebuttal, as though Mr. Wright did,
As Mr.
because we did not meet with Mr. Wright, we only read his email.
I understand
Sound
now.
agreeable?
Yes.
Yes. Make a motion that we allow Mr. Howard to put his
Written.
rebuttal in, submitted to the.
And deny a in-person
Yes,
appointment.
yeah, no in person.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. McDonald to request Mr. Howard put his rebuttal in by written statement versus meeting with him for 5 minutes, second by Mr. Rochelle. Discussion.
Just want to go on record that this, because we believe this is a state issue anyway.
That's correct.
This is a state issue.
That's correct.
Well, the only problem I have is we don't take any public input now at our regular meeting, possibly,
In writing.
I said public input, I mean, speaking.
In person.
And that's what he wants to do, I believe.
Mr. Wright might have wanted to do the same thing, but we did not allow it that night.
Didn't allow it.
He was online. He was on the phone.
Yeah, but did he ask to
We
be?
did not interject or anything.
We could do that with Mr. Howard as far as listening to him on the phone.
But when does it become that we're playing judges? Because
All we're doing,
you allow Mr. Howard and now you're gonna allow, I forget his
Well,
name,
Mr. Wright.
Mr. Wright in. Now we've got them both sitting there and they're gonna want a decision from us or something.
well,
Yes.
there's no decisions that we make, and we're normally like we've had before in our meetings before. Someone came up, they had their time to speak, and they'd come up and they'd speak, and we'd listen, and we generally didn't make a decision then. We heard them out for what they had to say,
Or you did nothing.
or you did nothing.
Yeah, from the audience. They could
That's
come
what I
up.
was saying, they come up.
They also,
Used to have 2 times during the
Yes,
meeting.
yes,
One at a time, guys.
things on the agenda
that's what I just said.
or, things on the past agenda. Not to just come up and,
Having too much fun.
No, public could sit out there.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
One at a time.
that's all I was saying,
and they can't do it anymore. So this is their only other recourse.
is by writing, or by phone, or by remote,
Yeah.
or Zoom.
All right, gentlemen, any other discussion? The motion on the floor is to deny Mr. Howard 5 minutes by a verbal appointment and ask him to put his letter in rebuttal in writing. Seconded by Mr. McDonald, I believe it was?
Yes.
Any other discussion? Not, I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
yes,
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
No.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes affirmative, 4-1. Okay, next, folks, moving right along, we do have a non-public session tonight. Need a motion to go in a non-public session underneath RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2, B and C.
second.
And that would cover yours, Mr. McDonald. Motion made by Reuben Wentworth, going non-public session underneath RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2, B and C, second by Mr. McDonald. Discussion. Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes? We are in non-public session at 7:45. As soon as we come out of non-public session, you will be notified. at 8. Folks, we are back from non-public session, 8:31. Gentlemen, do I have a motion not to divulge item 1, 2,
Second.
motion made by Reuben Wentworth not to divulge item 1, 2, and 3 underneath A and B, excuse me, I did not put that in, which would be effective adversely to the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, render proposed action ineffective.
Second.
Second by Burge McDonald. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative, not to divulge.
Did you want to approve number 2 on the consent
Yes.
agenda?
Oh, go ahead.
I make a motion that we approve number 3 or 2?
Number 2.
Number 2 on the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Virgil McDonald to approve item 2 on the consent agenda, second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Gentlemen, at this time, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment at 6:32.
Motion to adjourn.
8:32, excuse me.
Second.
Motion made by Paul Rochelle to adjourn at 8:32, second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Folks, thank you for joining us tonight. Our next regular Selectmen's meeting will be February 22nd at 6 p.m., if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you all, folks. Have a wonderful day. Night.